HasanAbi corporate. I don't even know what that is. Speaking of criminals, we have the #1 crime defender here, who he doesn't even know, but I'm gonna force him to defend Israel's war crimes as we go through the
Thank you so much
legal. Yeah, wait. Speaking to the mic, let me see if it was perfect.
Hello.
Okay, that sounds.
Hello. Am I too loud?
No, you're fine.
I'm
Be a little bit louder.
Wait, sorry. I came here because I wanted to ask you something.
What do you want to ask me?
Do you condemn Hamas?
Dude, dude. There you go. He's here. He's right on the money.
APAC just paid me $10,000 to ask you that.
Yeah, dude, get the money, dog. Get the money, King.
APAC, my DMs are open.
Mine too. They're not even like trying to hit me up. It's kind of fucked up, really. Like, am I nothing to you, APAC? I could be your man. Yeah, we are.
I know. I watched this morning. It's totally fucked up.
Yeah.
Wait, can I say bad words? I forget.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want, man. All right, try to unscrew this real quick. Condemn it. You haven't condemned it today, and I have a problem with my morality. Yeah, I know. I condemn it every day. I wake up in the morning and I condemn Hamas every morning, which is what you're supposed to do. The hypothetical situation that you start stream tomorrow and start blasting Israeli talking points is hilarious. I could do it. It's so fucking easy. What Crocs is Lolo posting? Oh,
am I not allowed to post that?
No, that's fine. No, these are Cutie gave me these. I'm wearing them right now. They're so comfy. Cutie Cinderella gave me these. She got them at TwitchCon. The Crocs that Twitch gave me, however, were fucking basic as hell, and these Crocs are sick as hell, and I'm literally wearing them right now.
No, they look good.
Yeah.
I've been going around your house and scratching out all the photos of you, like your eyes.
Oh, nice.
Because I was bored.
Okay, well, that's fine. Ask him if he's had a Scoop Bagel yet. I think that's
know about this?
Scoop Bagels.
Yeah.
I think it's anti-Semitic
I agree.
to have Scoop Bagels, like to make that.
That's the anti-Semitism we're not talking about.
I know.
Scoop
Everyone's
bagels.
always talking about like, oh, people say free Palestine, and now I'm scared. It's like, no, man. They literally make Scoop Bagels. It's fucking anti-Semitic. Unacceptable.
I brought this book.
Have you condemned Hamas yet?
Oh.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
What are you asking me?
Yeah, do you condemn
Anyway,
Hamas?
so I brought this
You
book,
love crime.
and I highly recommend that everyone gets it. Have you read this?
I hate reading.
I know you hate reading. This
Yeah.
is a great book, though.
The 100 Years War on Palestine, a history of settler colonialism and
It's really
resistance
good,
from
guys.
1917 to 2017.
It's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, but Rashid Khalidi
Yeah, King.
seems like an Arabic name to me. Can you tell me he's not Hamas? Yeah, exactly.
I reject this whole thing. I condemn.
Yeah.
There's something in here I like that I want. Well, I don't want to read from a book.
No, you can read from a book, nerd. Go
I
ahead.
don't know, because I heard you talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I
So
mean, I know
it's-
you've been talking about it a lot.
I know a little bit about it. You know, just some I've just, covered for 10 years at this point. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Did you know? So you know that my brother is in rabbinical school. Did you know that?
I think I've heard you talk about this on Twitter or something.
Yeah. So I don't really talk about it too much because it's like, it's his sort of business and his life, but they're Reconstructionist Jews, which is kind of like sort of like hippie Platonic view of Judaism. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I like it. Yeah. And actually the majority of his class, the students there at this rabbinical school, went down to DC. They were there at the insurrection that occurred. What? No, sorry.
Like January
No.
No, what the fuck?
They went down to protest recently, where a bunch of Jewish people went down there and some rabbis and stuff, and they got arrested. And so a bunch of people were down there, standing with Palestinians or whatever.
Okay, what do you want to read?
Oh my God, so sorry.
You had
Well, I just thought this was. Okay.
Let's hear it.
I know I'm reading from a book. Is this boring?
Dude,
Okay.
just can
Just
you
read?
stop? Just be
Okay.
normal.
I'm
What the
trying
fuck?
to be. There's a
People
lot
are
of
very
people.
excited for you to be on here.
Okay, this is what I wanted to read because
Okay.
I thought this was useful. For all Palestinians, no matter their different circumstances, the Nakba formed an enduring touchstone of identity, one that lasted through several generations. It marked an abrupt collective disruption, a trauma that every Palestinian shares in one way or another, personally or through their parents or grandparents. At the same time as the Nakba provided a new focus for their collective identity, it broke up families and communities, dividing and dispersing Palestinians among multiple countries and distinct sovereignties. Even those still inside Palestine, whether refugees or not, were subject to 3 different political regimes: Israel, Egypt for those in the Gaza Strip, and Jordan for those on the West Bank and in East Jerusalem. This condition of dispersal, shitat in Arabic, has afflicted the Palestinian people ever since. My own family is typical in that I have cousins in Palestine and in half a dozen Arab countries, and almost as many in Europe and the United States. Each of these separate Palestinian collectives faced a range of restrictions on movement, held a variety of identity documents or none at all, and were obliged to operate under different conditions, laws, and languages. And the reason I'm sharing this is because, I've been thinking about this a lot too, obviously. And I don't know, like, I wasn't as informed as you were, and I've been trying to like read more and learn more. And I feel like there's this sort of like tragic historical irony in this whole situation, which is the Nakba, which is this catastrophe. And in Judaism, and something that's talked about a lot is the Holocaust is called the Shoah, like the calamity of the Shoah. And it's a huge thing in, I think, American Jewish culture to talk about the Holocaust, remember it. Like, it's a big part of, modern Jewish identity, especially American Jewish identity. And there's some, I think, like, it just makes me so sad, it's just horrible. Like to think that now we're in this situation where I think weaponizing this horrible thing that's happened in Jewish history to conduct what is effectively another Holocaust.
Yeah.
And I know you've talked about that, and I don't want to get like overly sad and everything.
No, it's fine.
I just have been thinking about it.
You can be overly sad. It's okay. I was talking to Felix Biederman about this just this morning, and one thing that is happening right now is it seems like the former like Hasbara operations have been just an abject failure this time around, because like every single time the brutality and the cruelty of the IDF increases or is like more or is brought to light, I think they lose the majority of the population in the Western world, and they desperately need that support. And I was talking to him about this specifically because yesterday, this guy, who you may recognize,
yes, I know,
as the guy who called the UN Secretary General to be fucking fired for saying that like October 7th did not happen in a fucking vacuum, which is basically channeling like the Israeli paper of record. You know what I mean? It's just repeating what the Israeli paper of record said. Completely unacceptable, however, when the UN Secretary General says it. But Gilad Erdan, that guy who is the UN ambassador to Israel, and other Israeli diplomats flew to Texas in the middle of their ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza. Why would they fly to Texas? Well, they went there to hold a Christian right prayer rally with Pastor John Hagee. And in that he cited the prophet Isaiah, a dog whistle for the end times, and calls on evangelicals to help lobby the U.S. government to back Israel as a religious war. So let's hear what he had to say. We don't even need to see it. We watched this yesterday. My point is, they don't need American Jews to sell. This has nothing to do with Judaism. And they don't, even if 100% of Jewish Americans was anti-Zionist, loudly and proudly, okay, they would still go to the actual fucking guys that move the needle. The guys that have given more money to settlements than American Jews ever have. Okay? Evangelicals. Evangelical Christians who operate on the basis of Jews have to control that entire region so that the rapture can happen. Okay?
And we don't want the rapture to happen.
No, I don't. I don't want the rapture to happen. I want to stop it. Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear.
So this to me is like very obvious. I mean, this guy that he's talking to said God sent Hitler to send the Jews to the Holy Land.
That's not
he also called Hitler half Jew. Said Hitler was a half Jew, and that and was like the Antichrist alongside Karl Marx. I mean, he has an entire Wikipedia page with a tremendous amount of anti-Semitic sentiments. He is not a fan of Jewish people. Okay, he just thinks that if Jewish people get the fuck out of America and go to Israel, then Jesus Christ can come back, and him and all of his like pedophile diabetic supporters can fucking get sucked into the heavens. That's what he thinks. That's literally what he thinks is going to happen. Which is insane. It's a psychotic death cult, and a tremendous number of Americans that have an outsized political power in this in the United States of America believe this shit. Okay. All right.
No, I think it's good to highlight because I don't think inside these conversations it's talked about that often. You know, the Christian aspect, like the radical sort of these guys.
Yeah, Reagan was horny for this shit as well. I mean, Reagan was also kind of stupid. For Ronald Reagan and even for Jimmy Carter, like a lot of these guys were personally fucking clueless and were just motivated by their aides that had genuine interest in like continuing with the at the time occupation and Zionist project. Like that's what ended up happening. He was just like he was fucking oblivious. You know what I mean? What's going on here?
Getting in trouble.
No, did you order something?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. Anyway, so silliness.
They're trying to break into the compound.
No. I don't think so.
I'm here in the $100 million compound.
Yeah.
I'm reclaiming it for the people.
Yeah, he's here reclaiming it.
I already went number 2.
You did?
Yeah, the
Nice.
second I got here. I
Fucking
had really
nice,
go.
dude.
I had a big breakfast burrito too.
Hell yeah. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
So anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, we're talking about Israel's war crimes in Gaza, and you taking a poop, it seems. So one thing that I will say, by the way, is that Tommy Vitor was like Obama's foreign policy guy. And it seems like even Tommy Vitor's like, all right, we got to cut it out.
It's bad. He lost.
We got to cut it out.
Boys.
When you lose the fucking pod johns, dude, what are you doing?
You're in a lot of trouble.
Your battle is over. You've lost. You are losing the propaganda war. You have killed too many children at that point, okay? You've killed far too many children. You have done far too many war crimes. Think about it. These guys literally worked in the Obama administration. An urgent message for the residents of Gaza telling them to relocate from north to south, delivered in English after Israel cut off Gaza's telecommunications and internet networks. Just a completely cynical PR move for Western audiences. It's done. It's done. And John Favreau reposted the All In with Chris Hayes segment where he actually called for a ceasefire. You know? So think about that. Tommy's podcast co-host Jews and has been calling out Israel well before all this happened. I know, but I'm saying like these guys, okay, being Jewish has nothing to do with this, okay? Your proximity to like the American State Department interest is infinitely more important than you being Jewish or genteel, okay? It's not. It's utterly irrelevant. Maybe from the normie sphere, if you like went to Jewish school and camp and birthright and whatever, the likelihood that you were propagandized towards having one kind of position is entirely, I mean, it's there's a likelihood potentially there, but ultimately, you know, it has nothing to do with like a monolithic Jewish understanding that like all Jews defend Israel or some shit. Anyway, so, right?
I agree with you. I think it's fraught in conversation. I mean, I think you're walking an impossible line, I think, a lot of the time. Like, I think everything you're saying is correct. Obviously, I have a ton of people in my family, you know, like, and relatives and friends who have some of them have more complicated feelings about this. My feelings are not complicated, and I heard you talking about this earlier. I don't think it's complicated in terms of what needs to be done.
I got a lot of people fucking...
Yell louder?
Yeah.
Yelling
I want
at
you
me?
to yell louder.
I'm sorry.
They want you to yell that at the top of the hour there's a 3-minute ad break, and if you
No!
no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with the Twitch Prime. That's what they want. They want you to
I
yell.
have to
Here,
be
I'll do it
louder.
now.
Oh, you're gonna make me louder. I'm soft spoken. I'm sorry.
Israel's propaganda campaign failed to consider Snapchat maps. Yeah, I mean that's a big part of it too. I don't even know if I can show this. This is like probably really gruesome, but I thought you meant Alex Press, not Lolo Lamau. I didn't know his first name. They know you as Lolo.
That's fine.
LolOverruled.
Lolo.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Sorry, we're talking about how all Jewish people do not
That's right.
unconditionally support Israel, but
And
you
it's
have
anti-Semitic to draw that, connection.
100%.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Oh my God, I wrote Mike Pence. You fucking asshole. Why didn't you just tell me in person? You fucking dick. I didn't even know. I did not even notice that. Oh God, it's over. It's over. No, I didn't.
Wait, can I give you the thing that I brought?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
What'd you bring me?
Okay. Wait, before I bring it.
What's up?
So let me explain what it is.
Okay.
So basically, I was at a flea market in the city, and I saw this guy with these amazing like jackets and shirts.
Uh-huh.
I was like, hey, he's this Colombian guy, immigrant, and he makes them himself. He has a company. It's called Casa Grace, and it's like a small. He lives in Astoria. He makes these jackets, and I was like, I think you would like this, so I'm telling him about you and what you do. And so literally this week, he made this jacket for you.
Oh shit.
And
Okay.
he got the sizing from a picture of you on Instagram in a Carhartt jacket.
Okay.
And he took the sizing from that jacket and cut it. So I don't know if it's going to fit you right, but I have it.
All right, let's see it.
And it's it's made from like quilts from like the 1800s.
What?
So it's like smallpox quilt that I'm bringing to you.
Okay.
And
all
it's
right.
it's got a vintage kimono on the inside.
I love that.
Okay.
Okay.
Just hold on. Ready?
I don't even know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm like physically ready for this. But I guess I am. Casa Grace quilts. That's crazy. Okay, let's see.
Let's see if it fucking fits.
All right. It's heavy.
I know.
It's so heavy. What the fuck?
So he made this whole thing
This is incredible.
by hand this week.
Am I going to get smallpox?
No, maybe. Didn't you have your shots?
I think so. I had shingles. So this is the inside.
Yeah. So it's a kimono.
The inside is a kimono. And then the outside is quilts,
Yeah.
you said?
Yeah.
All right, let's see. I think it's going to fit. It fits. It's perfect.
Let's go.
God damn.
Yeah, it's sick.
Thank you. Oh, this is fire. Thank you so much.
It's a
Yeah,
little
it fits
heavy.
perfectly. Usually my
looks
arms.
sick. It looks
Usually
sick,
I
dude,
love that
yes.
it's like long, because usually my arms are too short on all the jackets that I wear, but in this one it's perfect.
It looks sick, man.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Thank you. And shouts out to Casa Grace Quilts for the wonderful work of art.
Shoot him a follow, guys. It's so Sandro, he's a Colombian immigrant. He makes these clothes by himself.
Who's this
That's
fucking
me.
guy? This fucking dude. What the
So
hell?
I hooked him up. He didn't pay me for this. I just really like his stuff, and it's really cool, and it is a little expensive.
It
But
looks like a weighted blanket for our autistic streamer. Okay, well, it is heavy, but
yeah.
I like it. It's very comfy too. It's not like the outside material made me feel like it was gonna be not so nice to
Yeah.
it might be like kind of itchy, but it's not. It's perfect.
I think it suits you.
Yeah. These are from the 18th century, you said?
Yeah. So he said, well, yeah,
It's
that's
crazy.
from like the 1800s.
These are racist as fuck. Like I got the power of like, you know, white supremacy on this. You know what I mean? It's nuts. Yeah, ancient racism. I love it. Okay.
All right,
Where were we?
Get that picture of me out of here.
Is that your
I
foot?
don't want to see. I don't
Oh,
want
no,
to see.
fine.
I'm playing footsie with you.
Yeah. Okay.
Get that pic out of here. I don't want to see my face.
No. Is it handsome? You look handsome. Okay.
Turn that off.
All right. After a rough meeting with Netanyahu, the hostage families officially endorsed swapping all hostages for all Palestinian prisoners, unprecedented. Shortly after Netanyahu made a statement for the nation and deigned to take questions from the press for the first time, by the way, since the war. Can you believe the cowardice? He did not rule out an all-for-all deal, but immediately after the presser, massive air raids began again. I think this is something I've mentioned before. I've been mentioning this since like October 7. Once you come to the recognition that the Israeli government cares more about ethnic cleansing of Palestinians than they care about the security of Israelis even, then you start to understand why they take actions in the way that they do, both in their internal conduct, in the maintenance of an apartheid regime, which understandably is a security threat to Israelis, which, you know, the fucking Shin Bet also openly told the Likud-backed Netanyahu government, and they were called woke at the time. But it also is very apparent in the fact that instead of going into the southern towns where Palestinian militants had taken control over police precincts and entire southern towns, instead of dealing with the internal security, the first thing that the IAF did was start bombing Gaza while Palestinian forces were still inside of the fucking boundaries of Israel proper, inside of the boundaries of the border wall. So that should show you that they never gave a shit. They don't give a shit about Israeli citizens. They obviously don't give a shit about Palestinians. We know that already. But they don't even give a shit about Israeli civilians. They only care about taking up more land. They only care about seizing as much land as possible. Honestly, I think Israel trying to prevent Elon from doing what he wants will just make him want to do it more. Yeah. Elon Musk actually came out with a fucking fat W, which I will openly admit, an incredibly rare, but
What do you do?
he said that he wants to send the internationally recognized aid organization Starlink in Gaza.
Yeah.
Now,
Is that gonna work?
well, Israel said no immediately. So no. So the way that this works for those of you who don't know, is that you have to have terminals on the ground so that they can beam the Starlink satellite internet to, right? And in order for that to happen, then through the humanitarian aid convoys that are going in through the Rafah border, Israel has to allow Starlink terminals to be sent in to the Gaza Strip. Of course, Israel's not going to allow that.
I'm not handing him a W on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, not
because
yet.
I think
Until I
he's full
see
of
it.
shit.
Until I see it.
like, he's talked shit all the time. He's always going to do ABC. Does Starlink even work? He's like, I'm sending Starlink over here, and it just blows
I think
up
it
a
does.
building.
No, it does. It definitely does.
Oh, it works? All right.
Yeah, it's been really helpful for Ukrainians, as far as I understand it. So it definitely
God
works.
bless.
It definitely works. It certainly works in Ukraine. It could work very well in Gaza as well. It is actually one of the best products that Elon Musk has ever presented, really.
Damn, get a room.
What?
Get a room.
Dude, I mean, I got to keep it $150. I even talked about, like, our own CEO of Twitch, Dan Clancy, added Elon Musk and was like, hey, I would like to see Starlink like collaborate with Twitch. And I saw that, and as much as I want to make fun of him for like publicly and openly trying to link up with Elon, which is kind of lame, like you're a CEO yourself under Amazon, you know what I mean? I do think that a Starlink collaboration with Twitch would be beneficial for Twitch streamers and streaming in general. Compared to flatten them all, I guess saying you want to supply them Starlink is an OKW. Yes, 100%. It's like not even a question. Elon Musk offering Gaza Starlink is a fat W. And even if it's simply for PR purposes for himself, it's still a fucking fat W. Because think about it. Who does PR that recognizes the humanity and even the humanitarian aid of Palestinians? Nobody.
Sure.
Like, no one in actual proximity to power, nobody that has, like, literal defense contracts right now with the American government is going to go out of their way to be like, we should help the fucking Palestinians a little bit. So the fact that he is actually doing this, I think to me shows that he sees value in it in as far as PR goes. Like, he sees value in even saying that, which...
You think is an indication of...
God, dude, suck his butt more, Haas, lol. I mean, I fucking despise him. I do.
So you think it's an indication of a tide change?
I think so, yes. I think that...
I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think that the fact that they're saying the fact that like someone like Elon Musk who is a defense contractor for the American government could say that.
Also, before you turned the stream on, you were kissing. You had a picture of Elon Musk and you were just kissing.
Well, I saw the tweet and I was like, he deserves it. He deserves these kissy poos. You're on the wrong side of history when you were trying to prevent Elon Musk from doing something beneficial. Yeah, like literally. Elon Musk yesterday was talking to a dude.
You're gonna get me banned on Twitter. I'm gonna get banned as soon as I walk.
If I don't get fucking banned on Twitter, you won't get banned. I literally had his like wife on the broadcast and I shit on Tesla. And I know his ass watched that fucking stream. So like It's fine. Well, not wife, but baby mama, technically. So
fellow pasta lover.
Yeah. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that even if it's for PR purposes with like no real interest of like actually following through on that, the fact that he would come out and make a PR statement that is like ostensibly on the side of Palestinians is wild. And it is a genuine tide shift. Okay?
I feel you, and I think you're right, but I'm never going to hand it to that man as long as I live.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's just yesterday, he literally said the melting of the Robert E. Lee statue in Charlottesville.
Oh, God.
That was at the center of the Unite the Right rally in 2016 was actually yet another indication that they are trying to exterminate white people in America. He literally replied to some fucking fascist, anti-Semitic weirdo who was like, yeah, they're trying to kill us. They're trying to kill us all white folk. And then the guy replied to Elon going, yeah, you of all people know better than anybody else what happens when you capitulate to these forces. Like
when they take your diamond mine away,
when they take your apartheid state away. Like that's what he's saying. He's saying like South African apartheid was really good is what he was saying to Elon Musk. So I don't know. We'll see. I think Elon's doing a PR stunt. He's not going to help anyone. No shot. I agree with you, but I'm saying the fact that he's doing a PR stunt on the direction of Palestinians being considered humans when the overwhelming majority consensus in media and those in fucking those with actual proximity to power has been unconditional support to Israel. That means something.
Point is, this isn't tit for tat. There is a massive imbalance when it comes to the two sides' weaponry and capabilities. While most of the rockets aimed toward Israeli citizens this week were intercepted, Israel's airstrikes were not. They hit their targets, including a house in a refugee camp, a building housing the Associated Press and Al Jazeera, and this 13-story office and apartment building. Although Israel insisted that there were military targets in that building and that they destroyed it as humanely as possible, even warning people to evacuate beforehand. For the record, destroying a civilian residence sure seems like a war crime, regardless of whether you send a courtesy heads-up text. And when dozens of people have seen their homes or livelihoods destroyed, it doesn't really help that the Israeli military posted this triumphant meme showing the explosion and the rubble labelled before and after. Look what we did. People lived there before and now they can't. You get it, right? And obviously, in general, you should probably never meme a war crime. But if you absolutely have to, at least go with something less boring than the before-after template. Maybe use the Drake meme or the disaster girl. There's a building coming down, so checkmark already there. And it's...
I mean, they do that all the time. They literally, they looked at this and were like, bet.
Well, they're doing the. Did you see the stuff of
Harry Potter memes? Yeah, where they were like,
the Hitler? They had Hitler on one of them.
No, that was. I don't
was
think
fake?
that was real. That was fake.
Oh,
Come on,
oh my
dog.
God. No, I got fake news.
They didn't go that fucking far.
But the Voldemort.
No, I know.
one.
Someone made a meme like making fun of the Voldemort meme with Hitler crying.
Oh shit.
No, only
dude,
Bibi
I
Netanyahu. Only
Oh
Bibi.
my God,
only
fake news.
only Benjamin motherfucking Netanyahu actually unironically said that in the past.
Guys, I fell for fake
Holocaust
news. I'm sorry.
Holocaust revisionist Benjamin Netanyahu famously said that the Palestinian Grand Mufti is the one who told Hitler to exterminate the Jews, like that Hitler was not actually planning on exterminating the Jews and he was simply going to resettle them, okay? And then he talked to some fucking random ass British mandate Palestine mufti that the fucking British had put into that position of power and was like, oh mein Gott, ich kann nicht glauben, this is actually a much better idea for the Jews. That's what that's what Benjamin Netanyahu fucking said. You looked at me when I did that accent, you looked at me like it was too convincing. I saw a little fear in your eyes there. I'm sorry.
I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Which was insane. Like that's like he handed it to Hitler, okay? Fucking least racist Philadelphia man, okay? Yeah, big mistake letting someone from Philadelphia run your fucking country. Sorry. Anyway.
I always
Please
forget that he's from Philly.
Yeah, I never do.
Represent. Go Birds.
Look at this response. If you're only tuning in now, hi. This is a good opportunity to mention, we've said this countless times over the 2 weeks, including dropping paper pamphlets across Gaza, Arabic social media, international media, phone calls to residents of Gaza, and more. You can see 2 examples from today. It's like, dude, this is ethnic displacement pamphlets. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is genocide. You can't uwuify genocide. I'm losing my fucking mind. It's so freakish. It's so grotesque. It's so fucking gross. Anyway. Yeah, ooh, small bean genocide, dude. That's what they're doing. Hi. What is this? Lolo's takes on these very, very real images. Well, you know what's funny?
Those are real.
No, those images. No, they are real. No, these images are real. I don't know why they. No, this is a real image from an article from I think 2007 or something. Okay. These are you know what's funny about this? These images are real. It's just they somehow took real images and then turned it into AI. I don't even know how the fuck they upscaled it with AI. No, the original article that these images are featured in are real. Did you know that? I bet you didn't fucking know that. I don't know why they yassified it. Yeah. I don't know why they did that. Here, does anyone have the original article? It's such a fucking stupid thing. Yeah, I bet you didn't fucking know that. It's like a real article from 2014, I think. Yes. That's the funniest part about it, is that it's like this. These motherfuckers, even when they want to put up propaganda that's like real information, they still fuck it up somehow. I don't know why. It's just like they're like, no. We gotta make it so that. We got to make it so that it's somehow still unbelievable. Oh, here, you found it. There you go. Here it is. Yeah. It's from a August 2014 article. Hamas leaders partying in luxury Qatar while poor Gaza people are forced to die for them. Like, they're real images. Muslim infidel servants of Satan, murder, rape, molestation, sodomy, domination, the commandments of Islam. Wow. That seems Seems like this guy's got a normal take. Anyway, it's wild though that like even when they have like real verified intel, they still fucking do this like random stupid shit to make it seem like it's fake. So
maybe they just had AI technology back then. You ever consider that?
No, I have not. It was AI from 2014. Yeah.
You gotta wake up. You gotta open up your third eye.
Let's talk about let's get to Benjamin Netanyahu. Here he had some more genocidal takes today. I'm gonna go pee while
That's
this.
not like him.
Israel.
Yeah, it's so he must be going through it right now. That's why I think he doesn't feel too good. It seems.
People of Israel, last night, additional ground forces from Israel entered Gaza at the gates of the complex of evil, the hall of evil. And the goals of this war are very clear: to completely eliminate the military capabilities of Hamas and to bring back the captives home. We decided on expanding the ground operations unanimously, both in the War Cabinet and in our Political and Security Cabinet. We did this in a very educated manner, taking into all the considerations out of responsibility to guarantee the fate of this country and the safety of our troops. The troops that are fighting in enemy territory right now know that the people, as well as the leadership of this country, are behind them. Over the past few days, I met with the troops in their bases, both in the south and in the north, and we have a wonderful army. We have exceptional soldiers, real heroes, both Jews and non-Jews, secular and religious, from the left wing, from the right wing. They are all united and filled with a combat spirit that I've never seen before. They are willing to fight full force against an enemy that there is no other enemy as cruel as it is. They want to retaliate for the horrific acts that these people conducted against our children, parents, sisters, brothers, and friends. They are committed to completely eliminate this evil from the world for our existence, and let me add, for the benefit of all of humanity. The entire people and all of Israeli leadership, we all embrace them and believe them. You must remember what Amalek has done to you, says our Holy Bible, and we do remember, and we are.
Yeah, when you start talking about Holy Bible and like God being on your side while simultaneously doing an ethnic cleansing, you've really kicked it up into high gear, okay? Really doing a great job here, man. Really normal stuff, really cool. Dog, what is he talking about? For the record, this is Hebrew. So it's not for you. This is like Sky News is translating it, but it's important to understand like the Israeli government's communications that are English are always going to be for the Western world. And there's a massive amount of this kind of communication. There are entire ministries dedicated to doing that. Okay? But the fact that this is Hebrew means that this is specifically for the Israeli audience. Okay? It's for the Israeli audience. So that's why his rhetoric is going to be less tempered, as a matter of fact. There will be certain things that he doesn't even bring up.
Are fighting, our brave troops and combatants who are now in Gaza or around Gaza and in all other regions in Israel are joining this chain of Jewish heroes, a chain that has started 3,000 years ago from Joshua ben Nun until the heroes of 1948, the Six-Day War, the 73 October War, and all other wars in this country. Our hero troops, they have one supreme main goal: to completely defeat the murderous enemy and to guarantee our existence in this country. We've always said, never again. Never again.
That shit is so evil.
Is
dude.
now. And
Yeah.
Maybe the most.
Using
the never again shit.
weaponizing the Holocaust to like engage in ethnic cleansing against a population that had literally nothing to do with the Holocaust.
No, it's completely fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
So
I mean, and
interesting.
you could.
And today-
you could also frame it I mean, now the way that I look at it is, for Zionists at least, and people who use that, I look at it as saying they meant never again, no matter, like, we're never going to let anything happen to Jews. We're not actually going to prevent a catastrophe like the Holocaust from happening.
Well, that's, I mean, for Netanyahu, absolutely. And for ultra Zionists, hardliners, certainly. But like, there's a reason why almost all of the Holocaust historians, even Zionist Holocaust historians, have like come out and spoken out against Israel's apartheid regime for the most part, because like people that actually do study this and have drawn lessons out of this understand what never again actually means, in comparison to someone like Benjamin Netanyahu, who is like foolishly and cynically weaponizing and invoking the Holocaust to continue his ethnic cleansing campaign. It's really fucking gross. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna grab something here real quick. Is this the one? Oh yeah. Need my nicotine gum.
Fixed? You got so much here.
Yeah, I do.
That's so bad for you.
What could turn the West against Israel? Nothing.
Jesus
I also-
Christ.
It's like
Did
asking.
they airdrop this? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I buy a lot of it.
met with the families of the captives, the hostages, bereaved parents, and my heart is broken. And I reiterated and said to them that at every stage until this point and from now on, we will exhaust every opportunity to bring back our abducted brothers and sisters to the warm embrace of their families. Their abduction is a crime against humanity. Anybody who dares accuse our troops of conducting war crimes are people who are completely hypocritical, liars, who don't have an inkling of morality. Then the IDF is the most.
Yeah, that's why he's like, if you're in Israel and say those things, you'll go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Ofer Kassif, a Knesset member who I had on the broadcast, a communist Knesset member who was suspended, not even in Israel right now, was silenced. There are not only Palestinians living in Israel that have been incarcerated for their like for something as simple as liking a Instagram post that the forces at the time have decided is bad. Okay. But also Jewish members inside of Israel also, Jewish people inside of Israel also are now under increasing scrutiny if they say anything against the war efforts. Meanwhile, Bibists are on the ground engaging in the ripping of the posters themselves, because they consider the hostages and their families to get in the way of the ultimate goal of Benjamin Netanyahu, which is the annexation of at least northern Gaza, as far as we understand it. It's pretty crazy stuff happening here.
Moral and ethical military in the world. It is doing everything it can in order to prevent harming those who are uninvolved. And once again, I call upon those who are non-combatants in the Gaza Strip to go further south. Now, the cynicism of our enemy knows no boundaries. It is conducting war crimes as it uses the residents of Gaza as human shields and hospitals as headquarters.
Did you see that video? You saw the video, right?
Which one?
The 3D rendering.
I did, yeah. From the people that brought you, we certainly didn't bomb this hospital, even though we bombed it the Saturday prior and told everyone to evacuate. Comes, here's the next hospital that we're most likely going to bomb, and here is why. I love that. He's like, I love that simultaneously they're like, we don't bomb hospitals. We would never bomb a hospital, even though we've bombed plenty of hospitals and literally ambulances and other healthcare staff over and over again. According to the World Health Organization, healthcare incidents, which include like threatening phone calls even to a hospital, being logged as a singular healthcare incident, all of which are war crimes, by the way. Israel has done this. Last time I checked it was like 480 times in the last siege, like this since October 7. Those numbers are obviously very. The reason why those numbers are massive is because they log each individual instance of like even a phone call to a hospital staff to evacuate to be a threat. So ultimately, you know, these guys are definitely interested in bombing hospitals, and we'll see what happens to Al Shifa. I'm genuinely terrified because there's apparently 60,000 people that are displaced right now inside of the Al Shifa hospital. The idea that like the Hamas headquarters are underneath the Al Shifa hospital in a tunnel structure is a very old school theory, okay? And yes, there are complex tunnel systems under Gaza. This is, you know, something that we all know about. I've talked about it a lot. 300 miles of tunnels underneath Gaza. The problem is you can't fucking bomb a hospital to get to the tunnels. It's fucking ridiculous, okay? And anyone who tries to tell you that that is a justification for it is out of their fucking mind, okay? Just like you can't nuke Tel Aviv because there are IDF stations in the middle of civilian populations, you can't do the same to Gaza either, okay? It makes no goddamn sense. Fucking ridiculous.
For their terrorism activities, and many people in the world now very well understand what we have argued all these years. Israel is fighting not only its own war, but rather this is the war of humanity in its entirety, the human fight against barbarism. Our allies in the Western world and our partners in the Arab world all understand today that if Israel doesn't win, they will be next in this conquest tour of this axis of evil. Since the beginning of the campaign, we've managed to formulate extensive international support, which includes leaders from the U.S. and Europe, led by Biden, the Prime Minister of Britain, the Chancellor of Germany.
Yeah, the notion that, the notion that Hamas it constitutes a threat to not only Israelis, but also to like Americans and people in the Western world is ridiculous. It's like no different than people saying like, yeah, I went to Afghanistan to protect your free speech, brother. It's like, what are you fucking saying?
They're going
like
to target the Cracker Barrels.
Yeah.
Know.
They're going to come after
precious resources.
Yeah, they're going to come after our jalapeno poppers, dude. That's what Hamas is coming. That's what Hamas is coming after.
The leaders of the Netherlands, Cyprus, France, and many, many others. Many of them came here at the time of war.
The fact that most Hamas leaders are killed in bombings inside their homes really supports the claim that their headquarters are under hospitals and schools. Ben-Gvir also said this person is being sarcastic. Ben-Gvir also said he ordered police to shoot protesters inside of Israel proper, meaning, of course, Arabs. Yes. They did. Settlers shot at Jewish defenders of Palestinians living in Occupy West Bank. They are an unstoppable force, dude. These guys are freaks. They are out of their fucking minds, okay? They're literally terrorists. I mean, they are. They are the legal designation for West Bank settlements, and what they are doing in the West Bank is settler terrorism, okay? This is not simply like an ethical way of immigrating into a region. This is an occupying force that has the standing army, the standing military that is at gunpoint displacing people and committing pogroms. And that has been the norm. That's always been the norm. For 56 years, especially so. Obviously, for 75 years, if you include the Nakba. But that policy has never changed. That's why it's so fucking frustrating when people try to say, like, oh, Palestinians, like, Hamas is the responsible party here. It's like, no, you just don't know anything about the history. You don't understand anything about the history of Palestinians. Okay?
But you would if you read.
But if you read this book.
You read this book.
Yeah, the 100-Year War on Palestine.
It's a great book.
Yeah.
Plug.
Are you gonna watch the Gaza Explained? Yeah, I'm gonna get. I am going to get. Oh, by the way, pour one out for our fallen soldier, former Vice President Michael Pence. Michael McDonald Pence suspends his 2024 presidential campaign. We are going to watch together the Vox video that came out. Apparently, Gaza, explained. Now, I don't know what kind of liberal spice they're going to hit on this, because sometimes they're actually pretty good on their coverage. Other times, not so much. So, let's take a look at this. I don't know how bloody this is going to be, by the way, chat.
We are putting a complete siege on Gaza. No electricity, no food, no water, no gas. It's all closed. We're fighting animals and are acting accordingly.
That was the defense minister of Israel, responding to the deadly attack on October 7th by Hamas, a militant group based in Gaza. Hamas launched rockets, killed over 1,400 civilians, and kidnapped close to 200 people. Within days, Israel bombarded the Gaza Strip, killing several thousand, wiping out entire families, and striking ambulances, border crossings, and residential buildings. At the same time, Israel told over 1 million civilians to leave their homes and
Militant, not terrorist. I mean, that's the correct description. So
move south, warning them of an escalation of violence.
right off the bat, that is, it doesn't have the political designation right there. So it's you know, it's an honest assessment of the situation, I would say.
In the north. But Israel is bombarding the south too, leaving Palestinians trapped.
For as long as this conflict has existed, movement in and out of the Gaza Strip has been, to one degree or another, restricted. The Prime Minister of the Israeli occupation, Benjamin Netanyahu, he knows very well that people are not able to leave.
Yeah, it's a concentration camp, an open-air prison, if you want to call it that. I know a lot of people will say, well,
The Gaza Strip.
prison implies that they did something wrong, but like, not really, right? I brought him here specifically so he can fucking tell you that no, open-air prison is an apt designation because not every single person has done something egregious and they're in prison for that reason.
And nobody should be in prison.
Yeah. Oh, okay, well, I don't know about all that. Even though I am wearing my crime is not a crime shirt today.
I do love that shirt. I want one of those.
This is, you know, I wore this for you.
Thank you. God bless.
Is the smaller of the two Palestinian territories occupied by Israel since 1967.
My great uncle's a paramedic, and from his experience in the 2006 Lebanon War, IDF really likes to go out of their way to bomb or shoot ambulances. Yes, they do. They like to go out of their way to do horrifying war crimes all the fucking time. Like, if you read enough about IDF military operations, which I feel kind of weird even calling them IDF or calling these military operations, you realize that their retaliation always is like a pit bull, you know, like the common meme of pit bulls is that they just like they have lockjaw, they don't let go. It's kind of like that. I know that I had a pit bull before you yell at me. I love pit bulls, okay, but it is very
vicious creatures.
They're very lovable, but
Vicious.
but it's basically like, it's always by design as horrifying as you can imagine. Like whether we're talking about Sabra and Shatila, the massacres there, where the IDF forces allowed the Falangist Christian nationalist psychopathic terror militias to go in and like actually cut babies out of the stomachs of pregnant women. And allow them to slaughter Palestinians across the board, which happened in Lebanon, by the way. It wasn't even in fucking Israel proper, at a refugee camp, as they shut off all of the corridors where people could fucking escape, or their endless bombing campaigns, or anything that they've done so far. Once you get a better assessment of like their operations, you understand that this siege on Gaza is not new. It's the same old policy. It's just they slowly but surely increase the fucking brutality every time.
This sliver of land, only 25 miles long and 7.5 miles wide, is home to over 2 million Palestinians, making it one of the most densely populated areas in the world. For the last 16 years, residents here have been living under a harsh blockade that allows Israel to control the flow of electricity, fuel, food, water, and medical supplies, so they can dictate when Palestinians receive essentials and when they're denied.
A process in which they called putting the Palestinians on a diet to make sure that they're docile. This is something that Israeli officials have openly stated. They control the Palestinian diet and have said they call it they call it putting the Palestinians on a diet. They calorie count. Not only that, but the sieges that have occurred time and time again since 2005 have been considered by Israeli officials to be mowing the lawn. So the cutting the tall trees, or if you're familiar with like any kind of ethnic cleansing campaign in the contemporary history, you've heard all this terminology. You've heard all of these statements from people that inevitably have to answer questions in the fucking in the Hague.
Don't Palestinians also have access to like 1/10 or 1/8 the amount of water that Israelis have access to, or something like that?
They have aquifers. I mean, 97% of their water is toxic, and the only way that they can actually have water is by either paying Israel for the water, or by operating desalination plants. And Israel has a desalination plant, and Palestinians have a couple desalination plants that have been bombed that they cannot rebuild. Part of the reason why they can't rebuild it is because when they rebuild it, Israel will bomb it, and also because they can't get fucking concrete into Gaza. It's illegal. Cement is illegal in Gaza. Why? Because Israel says, well, they're going to build tunnel systems. Well, they've already fucking built the tunnel systems.
They might build hospitals that they have to bomb.
Yeah.
That control is rooted in violence and destruction that goes back decades. Before the establishment of Israel, Gaza was part of what became known as historic Palestine under Ottoman rule and later under British occupation.
It was so good under Ottoman rule. Let's be fucking real, dude. Bring it back.
In 1947, as the British prepared to leave, they left the fate of Palestine up to a newly formed United Nations, who voted to...
Every single crime, every single historic crime over the course of the past 500 years of history, 400 years of history, you can always fucking go back and point the finger of blame at the British, and you will be right, okay? The more you read about history, the more you read about global affairs, the more you recognize that these fucking assholes they had their finger tilting the scales. They had their finger on the scales every single fucking time, whether through direct involvement or indirect involvement, and America is simply a continuation of that imperialist mentality.
to divide Palestine into a Jewish state and an Arab state. Soon, Zionist forces and militias began to forcibly expel hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from their land to establish the state of Israel.
They're not getting too deep into this, but if you want to understand the Nakba, I would say Deir Yassin is like one of the most horrifying massacres that there are still survivors from on both sides, both the Zionist brigades and also the Palestinians that escaped, that have recounted the horrifying experiences like brutal rapes, people getting thrown in wells, people getting thrown in ovens, and things of that nature. And the brutality of Deir Yassin basically caused this massive effect through word of mouth in every single Palestinian village from the river to the sea, that made it easier for the Zionist brigades to then turn around and forcibly expel people from other villages. And the number in the Nakba was, of course, 700,000 Palestinians who left with their home keys and the deeds of their houses in their fucking pockets, thinking that they would be able to return, which they were never able to. This is a major point of contention. You see this? Oh no, Josh Androsky fucking, oh no, he resigned from his post Friday after. Wait, what did he say?
He was tweeting at
friend of the show, Josh.
Yeah, he was tweeting at the TrueAnon account, and he made a Auschwitz joke
about Amy Schumer.
Auschwitz joke.
Oh, he did. He made a bad.
Well,
he
it
made
was
a
bad.
joke.
As in, like, it wasn't really that funny.
Oh, really?
And also probably extremely tone deaf considering the moment.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm disavowing Josh Androsky. that vicious, rabid anti-Semite.
He got fired for making a joke that wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Shit, wait, I don't have any beef with this person. I'm sorry.
No, Josh is the man. He is very involved in Los Angeles politics.
Yeah, he's Jewish also.
Oh yeah, of course. Yes, Josh Androsky is Jewish. For those of you who don't know. Do I condemn Josh? Oh, absolutely. It was a TrueAnon thread. Yeah, I like that.
He was replying to racial Jake.
Here's the audacity that I personally love watching. Like, oftentimes, like white Christian Zionists, they get so far ahead of themselves in their endless defense of Israel that they like literally start saying that like Jewish people are bad Jews, you know what I mean? Like, where they're like, please, can you condemn your Jewish friends right now for their gross crimes of anti-Semitism? I'm like, I'm Muslim, you're Christian, you're asking me to yell at a fucking Jewish guy for the crime of being anti-Semitic from your perspective. Like, neither of us have a say in this conversation as hard as you know, what he has to say. What the fuck's going on? It's the same principle behind like Germans literally fucking arresting Jewish Palestinian protesters. It's like, I've seen this play out before. You guys are getting a little too horny right now.
Well, that's one of my gripes with German people generally is, besides the Holocaust, is like modern Germans, they feel really bad about the Holocaust, I guess. But then they want to like police Jewish people on like making, you know, edgy.
Yeah, like the SDP
stuff, you know
chick,
I mean?
like the SDP lady who is fucking a Christian German woman who was like criticizing Bernie Sanders for his like what I would consider a tepid response to the ongoing ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza. And she was like, "This is a bridge too far, sir."
I just don't. It's kind of funny.
I say SDP, sorry, SPD.
It's kind of funny that you'd be like, we're the most sorry that we did the Holocaust, so you actually should feel bad because we're really sorry that we did it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like the fucking psychotic like German Antifa that like dumped pork fat in a German bakery that was like housing immigrants or something, and like allowing some Muslim immigrants to hold like a seminar or something. And they were like, yeah, we're doing this. Like, we're fucking, we're doing this for the Jews. And it's like, what are you doing, brother? You know, first of all, that shit ain't kosher either, okay? It's like, we have only one, to some Germans, it's hard. I get it. It's hard not to like hit the fucking Holocaust button, it seems, for some of you, but you gotta dial it back, brother. You're getting a little too comfortable, okay? Calm down. What the fuck?
It's so, it is enticing for them, though.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. This is what I know. This is all I know. What do you mean? It's my culture. It's my culture.
I'm getting fired for sure.
Lol is incorrect, by the way. Germans are not ashamed anymore. AFD, and I keep saying it's not an overcorrection, it's genocide Butler's. It's called Anti-Deutsche. It's a phenomenon that makes me want to... Oh, yeah, we have some German leftists in the chat as well. But
I'm sorry. I don't hate all German people. I love your leader, Hasan.
Who?
Lederhosen?
Lederhosen? Oh, okay.
I've never been to Germany.
Really?
I want to go to Berghain. You know Berghain?
Yeah.
You want to go?
Bro, what do you... I've been to Berlin a bunch.
Have you been to Berghain?
I have not been to Berghain, no.
Let's go.
I've been to Germany a lot, and I'll tell you, it's very Turkish. So, especially Berlin.
Germany is Turkish coded.
It's the largest Turkish diaspora outside of Turkey.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of Turkish people in Worcester, Massachusetts.
I did not know that.
Just
why do you know that?
Because that's where I went to college.
Oh. Berghain is super overrated in my opinion. They're very stuck up and purist there. Yeah,
Okay, sorry. I've never been. They're blaming me.
Well, anyway, there's for me, I don't like Germany. I feel like Germany is very bland. I'm sorry, it's not my favorite. Like I've been there a lot, and I know a little bit of German, but I don't even need to speak it in order to get around in Germany because literally everyone's Turkish. So it's kind of dope. However, I do find it to be quite bland. I don't like brutalist architecture either, which is my most anti-Soviet opinion, I would say.
Yeah.
Do you like brutalist architecture?
I fuck with brutalism sometimes.
Okay. I mean, you can have it. Vienna and Prague are way cooler cities. Yes, Vienna is beautiful. I like I was about to say Österreich. I think Vienna is much I mean, I don't know. I like Vienna. Vienna is cool. Red Vienna, baby. A lot of public housing there.
So we're going to Berghain. Okay, cool. Sick.
Anyway, yeah. Disgusting trash take. I'll tell you this as a man currently in a Soviet bloc apartment building. Not a single problem ever. I just don't like the aesthetics of brutalism and brutalist architecture all that much.
You like the
what?
Like a ranch kind of
Not
like
necessarily.
sliding doors. One
Not
of those
necessarily.
open concept houses like Chet and what are they from the they make the houses down in Austin, Texas. You know what I'm talking about? I'm trying to
McMansions?
insult you, but I'm doing a bad job.
McMansions? Not really. I mean, I think that I think London is beautiful. I mean, nothing beats. I would say I love the Netherlands. I love Amsterdam, probably one of my favorite cities in Europe in general. I love Spain. Barcelona is incredible. You know what I mean? There are a lot of I have a lot of armchair urbanist takes. Okay, that many of the
You just don't like big public housing projects that provide stability and housing for large groups of people.
No, I do like it. I do like it. I don't like the aesthetics of it. I love the principle of it. I just don't like the aesthetics of it. That much is clear. I mean, I've hyped Red Vienna quite a bit here. It's like one of my major points of contention with American housing is in our understanding of the housing market here is that we do not have any social housing. I do not give a fuck if all matter of housing in America was brutalist and ugly and boring, but at least it was adequate for eliminating the problem of homelessness in this country. I would be perfectly fine and perfectly happy with that. You know? So, yeah. Anyway, what the fuck were we? Oh, we were doing the Gaza video. I can't believe we just got derailed so aggressively.
I'm so sorry.
2 minutes and
It's
50
my fault.
seconds in. This is literally all your fault.
Internally displaced Palestinians fled to this narrow stretch of land that would later become known as the Gaza Strip.
So these refugees became refugees because they were pushed out of their
Internal
towns and
refugees,
villages.
yes.
Some of them literally live a mile away from what used to be their towns and villages.
Many others were forced to flee to neighboring Arab countries. Overwhelmed by refugees, these countries immediately declared war against the new state of Israel to support Palestinian Arabs. They eventually lost to Israel, but Jordan ended up occupying the West Bank, and Egypt occupied Gaza City and nearby.
This is also very important to understand. You want to give?
I think I know. No, it's not a hot take.
Well, give us
I
your
think that this
historic
is an
perspective.
important aspect of Israeli propaganda inside the history of Israel, which was this is also often sold as this thing that Israel was this weak and feeble power that had no support, and all of these big, bad, scary Arab states, came in and lost this war. But the reality was that they had tremendous support, and actually President Johnson was briefed on this, and so was McNamara. And McNamara told Johnson that they would get fucking washed, that Israel would wash, Egypt and all these countries when they what?
I'm proud of you.
I'm just saying.
Okay, go on. Yeah.
No, so I'm saying this is an important aspect of it, though, because this is often touted in part of the history and of legitimizing the Zionist project is this idea that they were valiantly defending themselves against this encroachment, but that really wasn't the case.
Yes.
It's an important, yeah. Okay. Now you go.
Another
I did
another
it. I
another
killed it right
aspect
there.
another aspect of this also is the reality that under no circumstance was this the will of the Palestinian people being represented adequately in almost the entirety of the history, in every single circumstance whenever there was supposed to be some kind of deal making happening, especially leading up to the 90s, all the way up until the 90s. Most of these conversations were happening without Palestinians actually having a seat at the table. The PLO, just like Hamas now, was considered under similar circumstances a terrorist organization that was not allowed to be a part, to play a part in the conversations whatsoever. Their leadership was also, of course, assassinated regularly. So that's something that you have to understand here, is that while there was a voice for Palestinians that literally, regardless of what Israel claims in their propaganda, was 100% conciliatory, 100,000% conciliatory to the unjustifiable demands that this occupying force was making, okay, that their voices were regularly never heard.
Towns along these ceasefire lines. Then, in 1967, another war broke out. Amid Palestinian resistance and fearing threats from neighboring Arab countries, Israel launched a full-scale attack on Jordan, Syria, and Egypt. In just 6 days, Israel captured the Gaza Strip and the Sinai.
This was also a preemptive attack, and every single person involved in it, from military officials and also Israeli officials and even American officials, have said that Egypt had no way of engaging in like full-scale war with Israel. The preemptive attack was seen as this preemptive self-defense attack that completely wiped out the Jordanian and Egyptian air forces that were like just, you know, not even in a defensive posture. They were just like sitting on their fucking airfields, not realizing that there was going to be an air raid. They wiped it out. 90% of the Air Force was wiped out, and Israel maintained its air superiority ever since. And but this is seen as like the most important, I would say, military conquest, because it's like against state actors in the region. And it's like, I guess it's kind of like Israel's World War II. You know how like America uses World War II to justify all of the other military conquests that they engage in? This is kind of like that, where they're like, we had to do it, and we fucking won, and we showed everybody our military might, our superiority in the region. And that's and you know, going forward, it's an important part of Israeli myth making, I would say.
Yeah, and I think also like what was wrapped up inside of this process at the same time, which you kind of mentioned before, was through every stage of this process, Palestinian voices were not really heard or prioritized or put out there in any way, and a lot of the state actors, you know, especially in Jordan, like the king in Jordan had all these interests to kind of absorb, you know, part of the land into Jordan, and was always undermining the interests of Palestinians who didn't want to actually be part of like that government, who didn't, you know, the leadership there didn't like him.
The Jordanian occupation killed more Palestinians than the Israeli one did at the time for its duration. Like they, instead of fighting against like Israeli forces, they routinely squashed any kind of Palestinian uprising. And not only that, but also, I mean, this example is quite similar to even the Palestinian Authority. There's a reason why in contemporary Palestinian politics, people despise the Palestinian Authority, because it's seen as a part of the Israeli security apparatus, because the Palestinian Authority collaborates with the IDF and gives up the names and places and allows Israel to conduct raids, for example, in occupied West Bank and places like Jenin. They are not seen as being on the side of Palestinians, but instead being on the side of Israel. And that is also by design. Israel had every opportunity throughout this process to allow the nation-state development, a just Palestinian nation-state developing with their collaborative project with the Palestinian Authority under Fatah, the secular regime that literally was anti-Hamas and fought against Hamas quite brutally, as a matter of fact. But they chose to not do that because they wanted to utilize the two-state argument as a way to continue engaging in land grabs, as I've talked about quite a lot. B'Tselem shows it by way of showing you the maps and how that occupation worsened, and the permit regime, the permit tyranny worsened over the course of 50 plus years.
From Egypt, the West Bank from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. This was the beginning of the Israeli occupation in Gaza that continues today. Israel took control of all movement from and to the Gaza Strip by land, air, and sea. It placed troops along this line and inside the Gaza Strip, and allowed Palestinians to travel between the Gaza Strip, Israel, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem. But just a few months after the war, even though Palestinians now lived under Israeli control, they began to be referred to as non-citizens or foreign residents in official Israeli documents.
You inherit this status from your parents and grandparents, being stateless, unrecognized, with no rights. And, this impacts your life.
This was also when Israel started to build settlements for Jewish Israelis inside of Gaza. To Palestinians, this meant even more land being taken away from them.
And they were 100% right. So settlements inside of Palestinian territory that Israel occupied in Gaza and the West Bank was a deliberate design of the Zionist state. They did this specifically in identical terms, in identical circumstances, both in Gaza and also in the West Bank. They created settlements that they defended with the IDF, with the occupying force, that partitioned off, or at least tried to partition off areas where there was, a lot of Palestinians living there. Now, it was much more difficult to do so in Gaza because Gaza was so dense to begin with, was so densely populated due to all of the internal refugees living in Gaza. But they very successfully did this in the West Bank over the course of 56, almost 60 years.
And they were being closed in. Israel did not allow Palestinians here to operate their own seaport or airport. Within the Gaza Strip, Israel developed key industries like agriculture to cater to Israeli and West Bank markets, taking advantage of Gaza's cheap labor market and paying Palestinians very little. These economic challenges led to the rise of a prominent Islamic social charity, Mujama al-Islamiyya. At the time, this charity, partially funded by Israel, built schools, mosques, clinics, and provided more food for Palestinians in Gaza. But tension simmered. Israel feared a growing resistance movement, and in response, soldiers often frisked, arrested.
This is really fucking good. I'm surprised at how incredibly well done it is, that down to like the inception of Hamas and how it became a violent resistance movement
and
as well.
Detained residents. In 1987, that tension reached a breaking point after an Israeli truck crashed into a civilian car, killing 4 Palestinians.
Yep.
Palestinians immediately responded with protests, strikes, and boycotts against occupation. It would become known as the First Uprising, or Intifada. And that same year, Mujama al-Islamiyya transformed into a militant group, Hamas.
Hamas was a group that came about during the first Palestinian uprising and was not really a part of institutional politics for some time.
They weren't in charge of Gaza yet, but they wanted to liberate Palestinian territories from Israel's control and considered Israel an illegitimate state. After the first year of the Intifada, during which over 140...
Remember, the first Intifada was fought with strikes and stone throwing, in which case the Israeli government, of course, always and forever responded with disproportionate force, opening up live ammunition fire upon these protesters. So that is really important to understand, because the second Intifada was a lot more brutal. And then the response from Israel, of course, was also a lot more brutal. But one thing that they haven't mentioned here that we talked about was the policy of bone breaking. Okay? 1/3 of the people protesting that were severely wounded in these protests were children. I think like an insane amount of children. And when I say children, I don't mean like under the age of 18. I mean literally 5-year-olds, okay?
40 Palestinians in Gaza were killed. Hamas and other militant groups began to attack Israelis
like
more directly.
Babies.
Then the Intifada grew more violent in 1991, which is also when Israel introduced a permit system that greatly restricted Gaza residents' ability to work, travel through Israel, or access the West Bank and East Jerusalem. By the end of the first Intifada, Israeli forces had killed over 1,000 Palestinians, and Palestinian militants had killed over 100 Israelis throughout Israel and the occupied territories. The uprising ended after the internationally brokered Oslo Peace Accords between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization,
Friend of
or
the show,
the
Bill Clinton.
PLO.
Yeah. A big friend of the show. Good guy. Never done anything wrong. There's a lot more, I would say there's a lot more American involvement in the entire process here, all the way from Camp David to Oslo to every other step of the way. But that's, I feel like, too long to explain in a 15-minute explainer. So that's, it's chill, I would say. But America was involved every step of the way in this process, for those of you who do not know. And of course, our fucking leaders are stupid as hell, so they didn't know shit. And they also rarely ever factored in the Palestinian position in their dealings. And very much the competing interests on the American side, which had, of course, all of the influence, always revolved around, Christian, Jewish, Zionists that had a security interest and wanted to maintain a security commitment to, like, Israel maintaining its occupation. And then on the other side, you had people who were, again, Christian for the most part, that had trade interests in the Gulf states. So at no part was the Palestinian humanity represented in any of these conversations. It's important to recognize that, so you understand why the deal making, the deal making never really featured, like, any of the genuine goals that the Palestinians had.
This was a liberation movement with an armed wing that fought for Palestinian rights for decades. The PLO agreed to disarm and recognize Israel's right to exist, but Hamas, which had very little political support at the time, strongly opposed it. The deal also created a new governing body, the Palestinian Authority, or PA, which allowed political parties and elections in the Gaza Strip. The PA was granted some autonomy within small areas, but Israel still controlled the territories.
By the way, I want to mention something here. At no point do these guys have a fucking standing military, okay? And the standing military is the occupying force, the Israeli occupying force. That's number one. And number two, they're still under brutal occupation, under brutal occupation where Israel still controls whether or not they even have elections. So if you, this is really important to understand, because as Nelson Mandela said time and time again when he was imprisoned by the South African authorities, they told him, we'll let you out of prison if you denounce violence and also Marxism, socialism, communism. And to which he always responded with, how can you negotiate with me when I'm enslaved by you, when I'm in chains? You need to let me out of prison for me to actually tell you anything, to be able to freely speak to you. And the same principle still stands for Palestinians. How can they have real elections if those elections are done under Israel's own censure program, Israel's own occupation? Okay?
Sorry, go ahead.
What's up? What were you going to say?
No, I would just also recommend people check out the speech that Mandela gave at the Rivonia trial. It's a really good speech. It was before he was sentenced, and I think it's worth reading. It's about the ANC and.
I mean, you're a public defender. You understand this better than anybody else. Like, you can't have fair and free elections under occupation when you're literally imprisoned. You can't have. You are still in the custody of the state at that point. Like,
yes,
you don't have any freedom. You don't have freedom of speech. You have a totally different set of standards where your humanity is robbed from you.
You're under duress.
Yeah, you're under duress. There's no way. You can't consent to sex, for example, which is why It is under almost every single circumstance considered sexual assault. You have no way of consenting to engage in labor that is meaningful, that you personally want to engage with. And that's why it's still considered slave labor, and the wages reflect that reality. These are all very real circumstances for those who are incarcerated. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because, you know, the entirety of the Gaza Strip and West Bank is basically incarcerated. You can't engage in contracts at that point. You can't have fair and free elections at that point. If Israel controls all matter of media, and also on top of that controls whether or not you can even have elections to begin with.
I think also not to mention the psychological toll of having an occupying force there that will kill you. That does kill your friends, family, loved ones regularly.
Yeah.
You're in a constant state of being in danger, which is a reality for all the people there.
Mandela also said, "We know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians." And he was right. Also, I'm going to run the 3-minute ad break now, and we're going to continue on with this video because you need to go soon, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm just holding on to Alex here, not letting him leave.
And the flow through these crossings. The Oslo Agreement also promised Palestinians some level of autonomy and a path to statehood in 5 years. But that never happened.
Yeah.
Instead,
Nope.
what followed was more Israeli settlements on Palestinian land. And a year later, following an attack by an Israeli settler in the West Bank and a series of bombings by Palestinian militants, including Hamas, Israel's prime minister called for the construction of a fence around the Gaza Strip. Gaza now had a physical barrier between it and the outside world.
We'll do on-band
These
request when he
moves
comes
made
back.
Palestinians trust the Israeli government and peace negotiations even less, and it would lead to a second uprising. On September 28, 2000, Israeli politician Ariel Sharon visited Al-Aqsa Mosque, a Muslim holy site in Jerusalem that's largely inaccessible to Palestinians in the Gaza Strip.
Like, Ariel Sharon is like is also again a very
war criminal,
a very important, very pivotal politician who was the guy responsible for Sabra and Shatila, the massacre that I talked about earlier in Lebanon. Okay, so much so that he was actually taken away from power by the Israeli authorities, even though he still, of course, maintained his prominent position. So, like, understand that Yitzhak Rabin, for example, who was assassinated, okay, who was fucking assassinated because he wasn't right-wing enough for the Freaks in Likud, and also the Jewish Power Party, like Itamar Ben-Gvir, was the guy responsible in the first Intifada for, like, the bone-breaking policy, like break their hands, break their bones. Like, none of these guys were good guys, okay? They are not good guys by any standard.
And his name's Ariel, which is a girl's name.
Fucking got him, dude.
Go!
Let's go. I mean, you said it, not me. He's anti-Semitic. I disavow his anti-Semitism. Okay? Also, your name is Alex.
That could go any kind of way.
That's what I mean.
Gender is a construct.
Okay. Biden spoke at Sharon's funeral as though he was a respectful politician. I mean, Biden has eulogized many people. So, he's an equal opportunity eulogizer where he went and did a eulogy for white supremacists too. All right.
This visit sparked widespread protests and violent clashes, resulting in Israeli forces killing 4 Palestinian children the next day. And Palestinian militants carried out suicide bombings. Back in the Gaza Strip, Palestinians broke down much of this barrier. The Israeli government soon built it back up and heavily militarized it with more troops and observation posts. They further canceled travel and work permits, restricting movement through this crossing even more, and eventually destroyed Gaza's only major airport and its under-construction seaport. By the end of the Second Intifada in 2005, Palestinian militants had killed over 900 Israelis, and Israeli forces killed over 3,000 Palestinians. The Second Intifada gradually came to an end as Israel dismantled all Jewish Israeli settlements in the Gaza Strip and withdrew the ground troops. Then
They not only dismantled the settlements in the Gaza Strip, but there were 10,000 Israelis, like 10,000 Jewish settlers living in the Gaza Strip. They did not want to leave, okay? And they were forcibly removed by the IDF. And the reason for that is obviously clear, because then they started their sieges over and over again. So understand that, like, this wasn't done, even though Israel presents this as like this fucking olive branch. Dude, shut the fuck up. I'm not reading your chat, okay? Here, there you go. Here, I got it. Democratic mindset of supporting the actions of Israel, Gaza, Iran, Iraq, etc. is a crime. We all have sacrificed too many tax dollars and war reserves to support this stuff. Got it, dude. Thank you. Thank you for your brilliant fucking analysis in the situation. Okay? That's it? That's what you really, really wanted me to read? I read it, okay? Thank you for your $20 chat. Jesus Christ.
Don't be mean.
I mean, it's just like... motherfuckers are out here being like me, and then the thing that I want to hear, the thing that they want me to hear is like something that is just like fruitless.
Don't be mean to my sweet chatters.
Okay. Anyway. I forgot what I was saying. God damn it. Fuck. Okay, whatever. But yeah, there's a lot that gets lost in this conversation that is important to understand how horrifying the conditions are, even though this while it's a short and sweet way to describe everything, it directly counters all matter of propaganda that you've probably heard that tries to desperately justify the current brutal occupying force that Israel is. But yes, the settlers did not want to leave.
Another internationally brokered agreement gave the PA control of this crossing with Egypt on the Gaza side, and allowed trucks and convoys to flow between the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. But Israel didn't let that happen. At the time of the first legislative election after the Second Intifada, Fatah, a party backed by the PA and PLO that had negotiated with Israel, was in power. But many Palestinians saw Fatah and its approach as ineffective. Hamas, which was now a political party...
The reason why Palestinians saw Fatah and its approach as ineffective was because Israel made it ineffective, okay? Because any kind of conciliatory action with Israel literally led to nothing, not even a fucking olive branch, nothing whatsoever. Just more occupation, more partitions in the West Bank, more settlements popping up in the West Bank that specifically and surgically cut through. So there was no contiguity in the West Bank for the Palestinians living there. It was just a loss of land and a more brutal occupation that removed all matter of fucking free travel from Palestinians that created the permit tyranny to begin with. So 1,000%. The reason why Palestinians were like, what the fuck are we doing? We try to like deal with you guys and we disarmed ourselves. We try to deal with you guys. And then you took our resistance and you personally neutered them and then basically turned it into a part of your security apparatus. Okay? This is very important to understand. And this was by design, okay? This was deliberate. Not like deliberate in the sense that Netanyahu considered Hamas to be the most important way of thwarting any kind of Palestinian national movement, but it was by design in the sense that all matter of violence in the West Bank and all matter of continued occupation and the apartheid regime tightening its fucking grip on the necks of Palestinians and utilizing the conciliatory, collaborative Palestinian Authority as a way to do that would inevitably push people directly into the hands of a more violent means of emancipation, no matter how impossible it is to go up against one of the most militarized states with a fucking nuke. Okay? That was deliberate. Okay? That was deliberate. That is by design. They purposely, knowingly radicalized Palestinians. They had every opportunity to not do that. They had every opportunity to show Palestinians like, look, we are going to allow the Palestinian Authority to be a force for good, be a force for peace. In every single instance, in every single circumstance, the Palestinian Authority tried. Okay, they tried. They tried to meet Israel's increasingly worse demands over and over again. And it didn't matter.
In addition to being a militant group, won most of the seats in 2006.
People voted for Hamas as a way to express their disapproval of the ongoing status quo, which was that the peace process had failed and they had had two uprisings and no state was in sight.
In response to an armed militant party winning, Israel banned laborers from leaving Gaza for work. Then when militants captured an Israeli soldier, Israel carried out airstrikes in Gaza and tightened its control on the sea, limiting fishing capabilities to only 6 miles. Politically within Gaza, Hamas had won the election, but the PA was still the governing body, with Fatah under its wing. A conflict broke out between Hamas and Fatah, and Hamas seized power of the entire...
This is not a conflict. This was a coup. It was a coup because Fatah and the Palestinian Authority were collaborating with the American government. The election itself was only allowed to happen, to take place, because George W. Bush wanted the election to take place against the best interest of Fatah, which told the American government we are not ready for an election at all. Okay? It wasn't even an Israeli coup. It was an American coup. This is not speculation. This is just really what happened, okay? Hamas won this election because in most circumstances there were multiple secular parties, multiple parties that were conciliatory to the Israeli position, that wanted to continue on with a two-state solution that allowed Israel to basically keep maintaining their occupation and the violent grip that they had on the Palestinian people, okay? And Hamas was like, no, fuck that. Hamas also ran an anti-corruption campaign. Now, it's not even, and of course, the votes were split in many different elections amongst multiple secular people running for that same position against one Hamas guy, usually. And they won by a slim margin. However, in the exit polls, which were conducted after, it was very clear that the overwhelming majority of Palestinians who still, even though they voted for Hamas, wanted a ceasefire and wanted to continue pushing for a peaceful solution. Okay? This is 2006. After the elections went in the direction that America had not foreseen it would go in the direction of, they then tried to do a coup d'etat. They tried to facilitate a coup d'etat with the Palestinian Authority, with Fatah party members, and they failed, which led to Hamas seizing control of the entirety of the Gaza Strip. And there's never been really anything ever since. There's never been any political movement ever since.
Entire strip in 2007. This is when Israel put Gaza under the official blockade that continues today, tightening Israel's grip over Gaza even more, trapping over 2 million Palestinians inside. This time, Israel closed the main crossing for commercial goods, made travel even more restrictive, banned exports from Gaza, and imposed restrictions on the import of essential items such as fuel, medicine, and food. They even used mathematical formulas to determine the necessary caloric intake for people in Gaza to control how much food they would allow in.
Basically, we live a slow death in Gaza, even before major escalations. People cannot travel freely. We have Israeli drones hovering around 24/7. There's always stress.
Over the next several years, reoccurring conflicts and airstrikes made the already devastating impacts of this blockade worse. Israeli airstrikes destroyed vital infrastructure, such as water and power plants. Repairs were delayed by the blockade, which impacted the delivery of construction materials. And for each militant attack on Israelis, Israel killed far more Palestinians in retaliation.
Operation Cast Lead, 2008-2009, 1,398 Palestinians were murdered, 14 Israelis. Operation Pillar of Defense, 2012, 167 Palestinians to 4 Israelis. Operation Protective Edge in 2014, 2,202 Palestinians to 72 Israelis. May 2021 conflict, 256 Palestinians, 13 Israelis. This doesn't even feature the 2018 March to Return, the peaceful March to Return that had no Israelis murdered, and every single Palestinian was shot at by IDF snipers that the IDF openly stated was accounted for. Every single bullet was accounted for. 10,000, I believe, were wounded. I mean, this is the violence is asymmetrical because one is a militarized state with a standing army and also nukes. The other one is a militia group that does not have access to even humanitarian aid without Israel's know-how, and at that point is trying to do is getting any kind of support from regional actors as they can, any kind of military support that they can get from regional actors.
Yeah, I just also want to add one of the reasons that I thought it was important I went to the first demonstration that had occurred a few weeks ago in New York City. That was like the demonstration that a lot of politicians came out and condemned, and they were saying these things about what had occurred at this demonstration because it was on the Sunday of that weekend. And, you know, besides because I was standing or expressing my solidarity with the Palestinian people, part of it was knowing that this was going to happen. What's happening right now, because of this history, because every time there was some kind of incursion in the past or clash, I know that it's always constantly met with, 100 or 1,000 times the force by the IDF. And it was so apparent that that was going to happen. And I was honestly pretty disappointed and hurt, honestly, by some of the reaction to that. Do you know what I mean? Like, because being there at actually that protest, which had there were hundreds of people there, and people that friends of mine, people who are Palestinian, and the expression of that protest was not what was, I thought, an expression of anguish, knowing what was about to occur, knowing what was coming, and fear for their family and their loved ones. I don't know. Like, it was.
And what had taken place before that moment? Because, like, while Americans, the American media, Western media, and American politicians desperately try to make it seem like October 7 happened in a vacuum, like, October 7 was a violent retaliation to the ongoing occupation, the ongoing apartheid state. Okay? It's ridiculous to act like these guys are just like they came out of nowhere, and that kind of thinking is obviously productive if you want to, if you know that Israel is going to engage in more ethnic cleansing and you want to defend it, okay? But it's unproductive for the security interests of Israelis to begin with. And that's precisely why there are actual Israeli Zionists themselves who also recognize that the brutality in the West Bank was quite literally causing or was going to cause an incredible security risk.
At times, Israel would slightly lift restrictions, but it was never close to matching the humanitarian needs of Palestinians in Gaza. According to a UN report from 2022, the 16-year blockade had made 78% of the water in Gaza undrinkable, left 62% of Palestinians in Gaza in need of food assistance, living with rolling power cuts that last on average 11 hours per day.
That is our normal life. We would have 8 hours of electricity, 12 hours of electricity. It changes depending on the situation and the availability of fuel. We are completely dependent on Israel.
This is what many Palestinians and international law calls collective punishment.
Collective punishment is when cancer patients cannot travel because they get denied. And collective punishment means also that Palestinians cannot have their own hospitals and they cannot treat their patients. Collective punishment means the people of Gaza now are punished for the most recent escalation.
When we look at the crime of genocide, which is, the intentional destruction of a whole people in part or in whole, we are seeing elements of that crime being committed and carried out in the Gaza Strip right now.
There's equating between Hamas and all Palestinians. And this is not the first time that we're going to see people in Gaza and civilians in Gaza half of whom are children, pay the price for Hamas or anything else?
Israeli and US leaders have emphasized that Israel has the right to defend itself by wiping out Hamas completely. But the majority of casualties in the Gaza Strip aren't Hamas fighters. They're civilians.
It's an interesting question to consider whether or not things would have been different if Hamas didn't exist. But the thing is, Hamas didn't exist until the late 80s.
And things certainly were not different.
But the occupation of the Palestinian territories has been since 1967. And the original Palestinian displacement was 1948. And Hamas didn't really emerge until much later than that. I think that anybody who follows Israeli and Palestinian politics, like with some level of honesty, knew that if what happened hadn't happened, something else was going to happen because the status quo was unsustainable.
The world has to recognize this suffering even before we have escalations. The reason we have escalations is because people cannot find any hope.
No one wanted to get to this point. The tragedy of it all, in my mind, I think besides the loss of human life, is that it was preventable, easily.
All of this that you watched is the reason why I find it fucking ridiculous when people go, oh, religious differences. It's so obvious. It's like, this is a religious war. It's like, no, it's not, dude. What are you, fucking stupid? It has nothing to do with religion at all. Okay? Religion is simply a rallying call, but ultimately it has nothing to do with the conflict in and of itself. Ridiculous. Okay? That's why I also say the greatest way to rid Hamas of any kind of influence it may have is by doing the exact opposite of what Israel has done in perpetuity. Genuinely treat Palestinians with fucking dignity. Offer them assurances. Stop stealing their fucking land. Give them their land back. Offer them a right to return. But of course, the moment where we start talking about that, immediately people start hitting me with blood and soil arguments that like, well, the Palestinians, they're going to come back and then they're going to outrank us. They're going to have more people and we can't have that. We can't have more Palestinians than Israelis because then they'll do genocide. They'll do genocide back to us. So that's why we have to keep maintaining genocide in this way that we're doing. And that's just like, I don't know how to deal with that because that's a fucking racist ass argument that the idea is that like Palestinians are going to wipe out all Jewish people from these lands if they can participate in the democratic process is insane. It's an insane idea. You cannot justify ongoing ethnic cleansing because of possible hypothetical ethnic cleansing that may occur down the line that you have no basis for stating will happen. You know, right? What do you think historically?
I think it's heavy shit, man.
You read a lot. You read a lot about this issue. I want to hear your perspective.
I think that, you know, I see it in terms of the work that I do every day, which is that the people who I represent are dehumanized, are treated as scum, and are presumed to be monsters. And the truth is, like, obviously they're not that, but they've also been failed by a system that, you know, creates a situation where they're in these horrible situations. And I think it's the same. People are fighting for their humanity. They're fighting to be seen as human, and they deserve, you know, dignity and respect and a life, like, which is what all people deserve. And sorry, it just makes me upset.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's this like fundamental disconnect I feel, and I realized it. Sorry, I don't want to be overly sentimental. I represented this person one time who had been in jail for like 40 years. And so they had been through the system for a long time. And I'm just trying to connect it to this. And I don't normally let my clients speak in court because it's not good for them. You know, they'll say something and they'll incriminate themselves. But we were trying to get him out of custody, and he really wanted to say something. So he asked the judge if he could speak, and he gave this very inspiring speech, and he talked about his life and how he lived on the street, but that he, at least when he was on the street, he was free. He wasn't incarcerated. And what I realized in that moment was it was such a foreign concept to me, like that someone could live this life, the majority of their life incarcerated, and just a horrible, tortured life, but still feel like, wow, being out on the street and looking up at the sky, like that's free to me. And I realized that the disconnect that existed, that disconnect and my lack of understanding of that allowed that world, like that disconnection allowed his world to persist in that way. And so I feel that our disconnection, the American disconnection to the plight of the Palestinian people, allows this to continue.
Yesterday,
so
someone who
recognizing the humanity that is implicit in their existence is required of us. And I think, yeah, so to what you're saying, yeah, I think it's gross. But I also don't think it's true, and I have more faith in people. I think people just want to be treated like human beings.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for going on and on, but...
No, not at all. No, this is very important to hear. Volibear Zelansky says, I think it's a very relevant quote for the replacement theory as concerns. The cruelties of property and privilege are always more ferocious than the revenges of poverty and oppression. For the one aims at perpetuating resented injustice, the other is merely a momentary passion soon appeased. And the greatest way to appease that momentary passion, that violent retribution, the revenge fantasies that may or may not exist, is by allowing them to succeed in their ultimate goal, which is emancipation. There has never been a time where this kind of violent retribution has literally occurred. It has not happened. It's not like it didn't happen in Nazi Germany even. There is no reason that people would behave in the same exact ways that they are currently being subjected to.
I'm just not that cynical. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have more faith in humanity. Also, I think it belies a guilty conscience because you know what you're doing is fucking evil.
Yes, exactly. That's why,
You know
like,
what
whenever
you're
people
doing is
say
fucking evil.
from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Like when people say that, and then those who want to defend Israel go, that's genocidal rhetoric. That's genocidal rhetoric. I can tell this genocidal rhetoric. It's like, no, that's projection.
Right.
That's fucking projection.
Right.
Like emancipation for Palestinians and a recognition of their humanity does not mean like every Jewish person living in Israel proper will be forcibly ethnically cleansed.
Yeah.
You just live in that violent universe right now, so that's all you know, and you've developed these paranoid delusions.
I don't try to, and I would never try to speak to the entire Jewish experience. It's impossible. It's so diverse. It represents so many different people and points of view. But I will say I think there is a thread in the modern Jewish experience, and especially in the American Jewish experience, which is that Jews have been hated for a long time, which is true. They've been historically chased out of places. That's my heritage. Pogroms in Russia, chased out of here and over there. My dad, when he was young, he grew up in Scarsdale. He got the shit beat out of him because he was Jewish. That stuff is real. It's real. But that doesn't entitle you to, first of all, I think, be so cynical in your outlook on the world that there's someone waiting behind you, behind every corner for you. And I think you also have to recognize your own privilege when you're a fucking American living in the United States, living a perfectly stable and fine life. And I think it also calls upon you to recognize when things are being done in your name that are horrid and evil, fundamentally evil. And like, we need to stand up for those, against those things, you know?
Yeah.
And it's been something that I've been dealing with in my life with people, trying to bring them along to just make them see that more and to act out less out of fear and more out of love, honestly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It is very indecent to claim that Israel's ethnic cleansing campaign is representative of all Jews around the world and like represents their interests. It is inherently anti-Semitic to tie all Jews to the Zionist project when Jewish people have historically been at the forefront of social justice and even very outspoken against the Israeli government's atrocious policies against Palestinians. So it's ridiculous, obviously, but it's really hard to get that point across, especially in America when the media deliberately refuses to talk about it on those terms and will purposely avoid all relevant, important thinkers, writers, scholars that do come from that Jewish tradition that speak out against these things, but they're fucking blacklisted. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
also because those words are those words and ideas are a fundamental threat to the Zionist project. That's why, which is what's happening now. And I think you're seeing that. I think you're seeing people wake up a little bit and realize, and I'm hopeful, and like I feel, I'm like in the comfort of your $100 million mansion.
You're being housed by HasanAbi, dude. Watch out.
I will never lose hope as long as there's a single Palestinian. Like I have hope for the Palestinian people.
Yeah. There was another thing I wanted to say about this. It's like Amy Schumer going fucking insane mode on the timeline over this has been so crazy, where I feel like that. Oh, the thing I was gonna say is, at no point in the history of the United States of America have Jews ever had a serious threat from Muslims in America, okay? And vice versa. I would go so far as to say that Muslims at no point have had a serious threat from Jews in America. It has always been, and will probably continue to be, white supremacists. So the idea that, like, you see actual white supremacists out there, like Republican right-wingers who go along with George Soros conspiracies, or Republican right-wingers who do the great replacement narratives here and claim that, like, Jews control the media or whatever, turn around and be like, but we have unconditional support to Israel, and therefore fuck all of these people that are criticizing Israel. They're the real anti-Semites, is a real deflection from the scary anti-Semitism that has harmed Jewish people in this country, okay? It was Christchurch in New Zealand was shot up by a white supremacist neo-Nazi. The synagogue in Pittsburgh was shot up by a white supremacist neo-Nazi. Okay? It wasn't a Muslim that shot up it was not a Muslim that shot up the Quebec mosque. Terrorism happened in the hands of another white supremacist, radicalized by the likes of even Ben Shapiro. But in that circumstance, it wasn't radicalized because Ben Shapiro was like, radicalizing against Islam from a Jewish perspective. It was a white supremacist perspective that radicalized them. That's it. It always and forever will be white supremacy that is the major problem. And I think weirdly enough, a lot of Jewish Americans that get swept up in Zionist propaganda forget that reality, where the real danger always will be white supremacists in this country for the very real danger that anti-Semitism presents. You know? Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. I want to keep you. You got a dip, right?
I got a dip. I'll be back later, though.
Yeah. All right. We're going to thank you, Alex, for...
Thanks, homie.
I'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah, I like that jacket though.
It's a sick jacket.
The smallpox will kick in soon enough.
I'm already sick, so might as well.
Do you like it?
I love it.
I think it's sick.
I love it. I think it's awesome. Thank you. This is really nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I'll also be coming on in a little bit.
A tape measure. I want to measure your head later.
Oh my fucking god, dude!
I really did look,
dude. Classic.
No, it's not craniology.
Yeah,
it's not
he's doing phrenology.
It's not craniology.
He's doing phrenology, dude.
It's not.
I knew you were an anti-Semitic Jew from the start.
I was gonna buy the calipers, but then I'm like, I can't bring the fucking
dude.
calipers.
That'd be pretty funny. You're about to get fucking fired, dog.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I just was curious about how big your head was.
Yeah. Okay. I abhor this, okay? Stop trying to measure my head. It's a normal head. It's a normal size head. It's perfectly fine, okay? Get out of here. I'm gonna call you from the I'm gonna call you from the protest. I want you to be my on the ground reporter.